What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. The new February ban list is upon us. I just got the notification a few minutes ago. We jumped on and we are going to see what type of list we are looking at here. Now, the thing is, honestly, with the release of Master Duel, I think a lot of people were kind of okay with the ban list being delayed, but I know a lot of like the TCG enthusiasts were really clamoring for something to happen because the format was getting a bit desperate with some of the degeneracy that was taking place. So let's go ahead and get right into those live reactions. And right off the bat here, there's already two big hits. Arch Nemesis Protoss banned, as well as Ava. Now, Protoss is something that a lot of people were clamoring for to be banned because it's just this unfun card, right? The fact that this card restricts you in such an oppressive way, and the ease of access to which a deck like Sword Soul is able to enable a card like this card was pretty degenerate. Now, is it like the main problem of the format? Probably not. There may be some other cards that are probably bigger offenders, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be too disappointed to see this one go. I think I'm looking for a just massive crucifixion list. I want to see like 10 to 15 cards getting hit. We haven't had a real crucifixion list in quite some time, so I'm not really expecting it, but I think it would be nice and refreshing, especially as we're moving into the Grand Creators format. We do see that this list is effective from February 7th, 2022, so about a week and a half from the time of this going live. But Ava's the other one, and Ava is a nice enabler for the Drytron strategy. So it looks like Konami's actually taking a stance here, trying to go after these combo decks that are just able to just vomit their hand out on turn one or create an oppressive game state where it's really nigh impossible for the opponent to really mount any sort of comeback. And I like that. Ava, being able to refuel the Drytron player's hand to give them plenty of follow-up and negations for their Herald of Ultimateness is pretty disgusting, right? And a lot of the decks were only main decking one of this card anyway, so if you were going to hit Drytron to some capacity, hitting Ava seems to be like a logical hit because, there's a few other cards you could hit, like maybe for consistency purposes, but that kills the deck outright. Maybe that's fine. A lot of people might be okay with that because Drytron's been around for a while now, but I think this is a pretty reasonable hit. It doesn't like hit Ultimateness directly, but it reduces the number of cards that a card like Ultimateness can negate, making it slightly more fair, I suppose. But I guess if they're going to ban Protoss, I mean, like, I feel like, that's sort of like a weird imbalance of like decision making, but whatever. I guess like at its core, Protoss isn't Sword Soul and Ava isn't Drytron, right? So I guess in that philosophy, it makes a lot of sense. But all right, we typically don't have stuff right out of the gate for us to discuss, so I figured we would go ahead and talk about that for a little bit. Let's slowly make our way down and see if anything else is going to get hit. Thank the Lord, Maxi is still on the bans. It's not coming back. Anyone who thinks Maxi should come back, I don't care if you've been playing Master Duel day and night, Maxi is still not okay. So thankfully, we don't have to deal with that in our TCG format here. Truly appreciate that one, Konami. Cimoooooooo, Bird of Sovereignty, getting banned as well. This is a hit for the bird up strategies that are just dropping out that Mist Valley Apex Avian or that Barrier Wind statue to, again, kind of take a detour from this sort of oppressive style of gameplay that these decks are inhibiting. And I think that's actually a pretty decent hit. Obviously, these decks are still capable of putting up multiple negation boards, but when you back that up with the fact that, especially in the instance of a deck like Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk, that they're not even able to summon on top of it because of the Barrier Wind statue, or the fact that Mist Valley Apex Avian is just such an annoying card to deal with, this sort of removes a lot of the issues with that strategy. Again, you are going to still have to play through some negations, but it's not going to be nearly as difficult as it was before. So I kind of like this hit. It seems like they're really going after all of the top decks, and I'm curious to see what else we've got here. Wow, I mean, look how big the links section of the ban list is getting now. This is ridiculous, but there's a lot of broken links in Yu-Gi-Oh! Shocker. Let's go ahead and continue on, see if anything else made its way on here. Doesn't look like it. Okay, no more monsters anyway. Anything in the spell department? There is a trap card and a spell card I'm really hoping are on here. Oh! They banned it! They banned Imperial Order! Holy shit! If there is one card the player base was clamoring for to get banned on this upcoming list, it was Imperial Order. Holy shit. Now, again, there's still plenty of other cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That restrict the opponent from being able to play the game the way they want. And a card like Anti-Spell Fragrance is sadly still at 3. Maybe. We haven't gotten to the limits yet, but we'll see. But Imperial Order is one of the most unfair cards ever. And even with the errata, it is just even more unfair because it's just shutting off a core mechanic of the game that is making up like 30, 40, 50% of competitive decks. And once this card sticks, it's basically just game over. It's one of the ways that actually prevents the opponent from engaging in any sort of counterplay when you have cards, you know, that are going to be board breakers, like your Lightning Storms, your Dark Rulers, etc., etc. And so I love this hit. I'm so happy they actually listened and got rid of this card because this card has been so game determinative, and when you just set up a board and flip IO, the win percentage rate is just obscenely high. I'm so glad this is gone. I don't think anyone's going to complain about this hit. This is probably the best hit on the entire list. So I don't think anything else is going to be hit on here. I'd be shocked to see that. Mystic Mine, sadly, is not banned. Jeff Leonard, you have survived another ban list. Congratulations. Can we please just follow the OCG on that? Mystic Mine is... I will say, the one thing I love about Master Duel, we do have Max C. We don't have to deal with Mystic Mine. That is fantastic. So, for the bans, I mean, I think overall, not too bad. I mean, we hit basically one of the top decks at this moment, and we hit one of the most oppressive cards ever printed, released, and re-released with an errata, which was still broken. So overall, I think that's pretty good. Let's get to the limits. Not the crucifixion list I was hoping for, but we haven't gotten to the limits yet. Astrograph Sorcerer coming back to 1. Fascinating. Now, it seems like we've been getting just bits and pieces of the Pendulum deck back, right? Like Joker moved from like 2 to 3, I believe. I think it's Iris Magician, Double Iris Magician also moved off the list. So slowly but surely, we're getting pieces of this deck back, and Astrograph Sorcerer is now one of them. An extremely powerful Pendulum card. I think this is probably okay, but this is a very dangerous game that Konami is playing, unless they're wanting to go the route of promoting the more pendulum-based decks, which could be the argument here, but Astrograph Sorcerer is extremely powerful and definitely not something to discount because it's insane. It's just an absurdly powerful card, and it was banned for good reason. And Destrudo is back! Whoa! Let's go! Okay. Destrudo, an incredibly powerful tuner that enables a wide plethora of different plays. Destrudo being able to just set up any level 7 synchro. That's pretty sick for anyone who is looking to play any sort of level 7 synchro-focused strategy. I'm thinking about the Yazi combo that actually just results in OTKing your opponent. Destrudo was one of the best enablers for this, and so we could actually maybe see a little bit of introduction of Destrudo back into the game. There's a lot of versatile uses for this card, an extremely powerful card. Being back at 1, I think it's probably okay, but this is a very strong card that a lot of decks are going to find ways to abuse, because if your first play gets stopped and you're playing the Yazi package, you can just win the game immediately if your opponent has no extra follow-up. So, nice to see it. Okay, that's pretty neat. I'm curious to see how that's going to go. Whoa, we're just bringing back a bunch of shit. Fairy Tail Snow is back too? Oh, no. Oh, fuck. Snow is back at 1. Oh, God. Snow is one of the most annoying cards to have to play against. Now, we haven't gotten lower on this list yet. I haven't seen if grass is legal. Grass is legal in the OCG, which is strange, but snow is so incredibly annoying because if you just have graveyard presence, you can just keep bringing this card back. It can book monsters, and in a format where we're playing with a lot of links and summoning from the extra deck, that can basically just end a turn. And the fact it's like not once per turn, very, very oppressive card. I think a lot of people are going to be happy to see this back, but I think there's going to be a larger majority that's going to be very upset to see this card back. Very, very strong card. Holy shit. They're just bringing back a bunch of fucking cards this time around. I saw another one down here too. Tiger's back. Oh my God. Lunalight players rejoice. Lunalight Tiger is back from the ban list. I think this is fascinating that they're all of a sudden just in this decision-making mindset where they just want to unban a ton of cards. And I like that because I think a lot of the cards that are on the ban list probably are going to be inconsequential and not really going to be too effective on the overall scope of the macro metagame, but you know, this is just fun, right? We actually get to see a lot of archetypes that really haven't gotten a chance to play since some of their best cards have been hit are going to be reintroduced into the game, and Lunalight is one of them. When Tiger got banned, the deck kind of fell by the wayside. One Tiger can do a lot because you can abuse one Tiger multiple times. One is really all you need, and so I know a few Lunalight enthusiasts who are going to be happy about this one and are going to try to do their best to make Lunalight relevant again. Let's see what else is coming back from the ban list. This is actually kind of exciting. Let's go ahead and scroll down. Nothing else in in the monsters, it seems, except Lyrilusk Recital Starling taking the hit as well. A lot of players were discussing the possibility that because the Lyrilusk Tri-Brigade deck is so powerful, that a card like Recital Starling that isn't once per turn should probably get limited, maybe even banned. I think limited makes sense. I don't think this card is really a ban-worthy card. I kind of agree with the Cimoooooooo hit more than this. And so Recital Starling going to 1, that's just going to further reduce the power and consistency of a deck like the Lyrilusk Tri-Brigade one. And I think that's okay. A lot of the Tri-Brigade, Lyrilusk players are going to be pretty pissed about this, but that deck was way too powerful, pretty definitively like the best deck of the previous format. So I think that's a pretty decent hit, all things considered. Let's continue to move on down, see if there's anything else. Monster Gate, interesting. Monster Gate was limited? No, wait, this is saying it's limited. Was Monster Gate at 3? And now we're seeing this card go to 1. That's odd. I mean, this card's been limited before, I'm pretty sure. Maybe we're limiting Monster Gate because we're bringing back Snow potential. I don't know. This is a weird one. If you guys know in the comments why this got limited, that's a strange hit. I'm not sure if there's something I'm missing with that one, but that seems to be a bit out of nowhere. And what the fuck? Pot of Desires is limited? Why? Why the fuck would you limit this? I mean, it does say draw 2, right? And I guess in all fairness, a lot of top decks were playing Desires, and if you play Desires, you basically play 3 of it, but not every deck plays Desires. We have multiple pot cards in the format. We have Extrav, we have Prosperity. And so depending on the type of deck that you're playing, the decision making, actually part of it boils down to which deck do you want to play depending on which pots you want to play, right? Because each of them have their own strengths. Extrav you can just play if your deck doesn't care about the extra deck. Pot of Desires belongs in a deck where you actually need to have your extra deck and you're willing to relinquish possibly hitting some of your best cards in your main deck. That's the trade-off. And Prosperity also is sort of like, this weird hybrid where it like takes stuff from the extra deck, but you get to pick the best card instead of just getting 2. So there's pros and cons to all of the different pots, but now Desires is limited? I don't like that. I really don't like that. I think Desires being at 3, just like all the other pots, makes sense. This is such a strange hit. I understand it's a very powerful card being a draw 2, but like, I don't know. I disagree with that one. I don't like that one. This is a bit of an emotional roller coaster of a ban list, but at least there's a lot to talk about here. Moving on down, that's it for the limits. Okay, so quick recap. Astrograph Sorcerer, fine. Destrudo, hype. Snow, Lunalight Tiger, probably fine. Recital Starling's a good hit. Monster Gate's just fucking random. And Pot of Desires, what the hell, man? That's a weird hit. I can't wait to see what you guys have to think about that one in the comments. Desires just seems strange to me, especially because they're not hitting any other pots. It's just Desires. So I don't know. It is what it is, I suppose. All right, then moving on to the semis. For all of you who are new to the channel, I absolutely abhor the semi-limited list. I think it serves no purpose. Any card that is semi-limited could go to 3, 1, or 0, and we could just abolish this list altogether because cards that should be at 2 can probably easily be at 3 or 1 with a bit more critical thinking. Let's see if there's anything on here. Malicious is like one of the few cards that can like maybe stay on the semi-limited list just because of like the way Malicious works exactly. I think a card like maybe Rapier, maybe like the only other card that's like that. Hero Lives to 2. Fascinating. A Hero Lives was limited before and was actually an enabler for some decks to be able to combo off. This going to 2 probably isn't going to change much because none of the top decks were really playing this card anyway. So, again, like, they could probably put a Hero Lives to 3, and it wouldn't change, like, what people would do with it, at least in my opinion. Fusion Destiny, semi-limit. What the fuck? This does nothing. This does nothing. all this does is reduce the likelihood that you will open with Fusion Destiny in your opening hand by about 10%, which is still in the grand scheme of things irrelevant, because guess what? Predaplant Verte Anaconda still exists in Yu-Gi-Oh! And as long as you have one Fusion Destiny, Verte Anaconda is going to get you to that Fusion Destiny. So that changes nothing. So good job on that one, Konami. Whatever. What else do we got? We have Nadir's Servant. This one, I actually think... Again, I think this card's at 1 in the OCG. This is a very powerful card. This card can just generate so much advantage by itself. And so I could see an argument for this card to actually get limited. This is like a hit, obviously, at the Dogmatica decks and the Invoke Shadal, you know, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of decks that this hits. But again, putting it to 2 is just like a 10 to 11% reduction in consistency. If you're going to really want to make an impact, you should have put this card to 1. I think that following in the OCG's footsteps makes sense. But again, I'm not Konami, so, you know, what can I say? All right, looks like there's more. Circles back to 2! Salomon Gray players rejoice. Our deck still sucks. But, you know, it's cool that we have this back. It just gives our deck more consistency, but... You know, in the grand scheme of things, the rest of the meta is just way too strong for a deck like Salomon Gray to really compete. It's like popped up here and there, but every other deck is just like insane. So that's fun to see. But again, they could have just put Circle to 3. It would have done nothing. Scapegoat going to 2. Okay, again, another card that could probably go to 3 and be pretty inconsequential. A lot of people use Scapegoat just to be able to link off, do stuff with like Boral Sword combos back in the day. You could probably do like access code plays now with a single Scapegoat in end phase. It's pretty powerful, but like, again, when you look at the way the meta kind of shapes up right now, I think it may be a little bit too fast for something like that. We would need more of a controlling format for that to be the case. So like overall, like they could move all these spells to either 1 or 3, depending on what they are. And like Mali, again, could like maybe just keep the semi-limited list here permanently. Or they could just put it to 3 because Mali being at 3 is like not that bad. But overall, oh wait, and we have Unlimits. I forgot. Danger Nessie's back to 3. I completely forgot this section of the ban list exists. Danger Nessie going to 3. There are like no decks playing Dangers right now. Maybe like decks playing Tsuchinoko and Jackalope explicitly for like the Phantom Knight deck specifically. So like whatever. Okay, fine. Joker. So this is what we were talking about with the pendulum. Oh, Jesus, there's a lot. I didn't see anything else. But Joker going back to 3. This is what I was talking about, right? Konami giving us that pendulum support back. They gave us Astrograph. It makes sense they're giving us this as well. Red MD going to 3 makes sense because it has the errata now. This card is like fine, but it's not really the terror that it was when it was unerrated. E-Telly going to 3. This is probably the easiest call for the ban list because we had a emergency teleport reprint in the Grand Creators at Collector Rare, and a lot of people were thinking that this was going to happen. This is actually one of the most impactful changes on the entire list because E-Telly is an incredible extender because there are a wide pool of psychic types that have a lot of flexibility. Like think about Ghost Ogre and being a tuner that is also a hand trap. That can just be a splashable little engine to give your deck slightly more consistency in some ways, depending on what it is you're trying to do. And so I think this may be one of like the top changes on the entire list. Some decks may just splash E-Telly and some targets just because it's a free extender. It's not once per turn either, so keep that in mind. We also have Raigeki going to 3. That is fucking hilarious. I don't even think that does anything, in all honesty, but like, that's pretty fucking cool to see Raigeki being at 3, because with the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Is now, so many things are either immune to destruction, get value if they're destroyed, or have negations to stop the Raigeki altogether. But to be fair, Raigeki is a one-sided board wipe that is not a hard once per turn. So this could actually become a tool that some players can use in going second decks to be able to break boards because it doesn't have like that once per turn stipulation on it. So maybe something to work with. Interesting. I think Dark Hole is at 3, I believe. Is Dark Hole limited? I don't think. I think Dark Hole's at 3 and no one plays that though. So if that's the case, people aren't going to play Raigeki, but now there's no point to play Dark Hole when you can do that. So, Skill Drain being at 3. The OCG has had this for quite some time, so I have mixed thoughts about this. This is a boost to several different decks, but it's also a pain in the ass because it's another card that just prohibits people from playing the game. The OCG has some decks that do play this, like Eldritch. This is probably fine. This is probably just going to be annoying, if anything else. There's a lot of cards to be able to take out skill drain when you're playing competitive, but I gotta say, kudos to you, Konami. This may be one of the biggest ban lists you have released in quite some time. I mean, how many hits do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 changes? We haven't had a list like that in ages. Usually they just change like 3 cards and call it a day. So kudos to them. There are some things that are still problematic, right? Like Scythe is still in the format, and like we banned a card like Protos, but like you can still get Scythe locked, so that's kind of annoying. We did address some stuff with like Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk. We addressed some stuff with Sword Soul. A lot of stuff got shuffled around, and I really think it's going to take some time for players to figure out how to really digest all of this. Maybe, you know, about a week or so, and then people are going to start figuring out the format, but this is exciting. I wish Konami did this more, where it's a big shakeup like this, where it isn't exactly clear cut what exactly is going to happen. I just love that there are so many changes and so many cards got moved down on the list, either from banned to limited or limited to semi or unlimited. I think that's great. I think we need to see more lists like this. So Konami, if you're watching, which I know you are, please do this more often. I think this is much more exciting for the player base, especially knowing we're gonna have to play Yu-Gi-Oh like this for the next several months. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for me. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this new ban list. This is a long video. There's a lot to talk about here, and I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.